Jimmie Johnson is the epitome of dominance in NASCAR. With 7 Cup Series championships, no driver has won more championships than him, and the only people equal to him are Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt Sr. However, like all good things, success does not last forever. Jimmie Johnson is no exception to this rule of life, as his 2018 season showed.
Now here comes a push from the 42. Watch that, go to the 41, push the 41. He's got to run on the 48, Jimmie Johnson.
I think.
Oh, Johnson gets turned!
Not again.
Kyle Busch into Larson into Johnson. And for what, the 7th year in a row, Jimmie Johnson will crash out of the clash.
That was so unnecessary.
Kurt Busch jumps out of line to make a move. And now you've got the 42, and I believe the 18 is behind the 42. So he comes up to Jimmie Johnson,
Bam.
Gives him a little shove.
And that just
turns him.
Turned him.
And, you know,
What happens here?
Jimmie drops out of line after they come through the trial. Well, he realizes he has a problem. It looked like the car got pretty loose right there. As he moves down, I believe he blows a left rear tire, sends him into Eric Almirola. Daniel Suarez has to avoid him, spins to the infield. I think other than some tires, Daniel might be okay. Heavy damage to the 48 of Jimmie Johnson.
All right, let's turn up our Fox visor cam and show you what Daniel Suarez saw.
Half back front, half back to the 43.
He gets a little loose right there. He checks up. Oh, you can hear it pop.
I heard that
just
pop.
Heard it pop.
He felt it, backed off, got down low, but when it popped, it just went left.
Now, I don't know if you know, he ran something over, but these cars are down, sparking a lot.
Look at this! Oh, Stenhouse! He saved it!
No, Eric Jones is not going to be able to save it.
Jones did not.
Come on.
Jones, his teammate Suarez, William Byron, Jimmie Johnson are all in it along with Ty Dillon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Trevor Bain
goodness.
was able to weave his way through there.
Caution. And the green and white checkered flag to end stage 1 with Kurt Busch, the stage winner. Alex Bowman in second.
It's just too
Ricky
early.
Stenhouse third.
It's too early for those types of aggressive moves. You don't need to do. I know stage points are important, but the Daytona 500 is the most important thing.
Big picture. What's wrong with these people? Can they think big picture?
Look at the orange number 19 and the 88.
So the 12 of Blaney goes try to make a move on the 17 of Stenhouse. He blocks it. They make contact. Great save by Stenhouse, but so much momentum coming with the 20 of Eric Jones. When he gets into the back of the 17 of Stenhouse, his car starts going around on him.
What a shame. What a shame.
Now,
Smoley.
7-time series champ Jimmie Johnson's on board.
Inside, one coming back on top.
Absolutely nothing you can do in that
No.
situation.
Here's Jamie.
And for Jimmie Johnson, that is the third wrecked race car this week. Jimmie, looking back at that video, what were those moments like that led to that?
I think there was some great racing throughout, but unfortunately, many thought that was the black and white checkered flag and not the green and white checkered flag. So, I mean, lap 59 to be throwing blocks and stuff like that just led to a lot of wrecked race cars. So we'll get to work and go to Atlanta next week. But just disappointed for the Slows team and everybody at Hendrick Motorsports for all hard work they put into it. But we'll get this Camaro LS1 dialed in for Atlanta and take it over there.
Thanks, Jimmie.
Jimmie Johnson spins off turn 2. Caution.
No caution yet. Yeah, caution's out.
Lap 159. Jimmie just...
Did you just take over Larry's role from last year?
Because I said incident-free, and here we are. And
Well, that was incident-free, didn't it?
sorry,
He just
Jimmie.
spun out.
He was running 19th, 1 lap down.
I see a lot of debris flying off the car from the tires.
Now that looks like it might have been a tire. He was really, really loose. I could see him fighting the car as we had him in some shots earlier. But the way that snapped around.
Could be the right rear.
I mean, the right rear's certainly down now because of that slide locking up the tires. Boy, that's odd to see it snap around that quick for a 7-time champion in Jimmie Johnson.
Well, we listened in.
Right front came apart, just ripped the right front off the car.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I think
pretty
that
heavy
was
damage.
actually after the incident, after he spun and then the tires, were down. I think then it tore up the right front.
Like you saw the fan, Jimmie Johnson fan, Pennsylvania, they just found out he was on TV.
Now he's happy now. Just learned he was on TV. All right. High fives all around. Except his guys in the pits with a broken car.
It's okay.
Worried about
It's okay. He's on TV. It's a win-win.
After 5 races, Johnson had failed to lead a single lap. His only top 10 finish was a 9th at Fontana, and his best start was a 14th at Las Vegas. The most troubling statistic is that he was ranked just 18th in points. This was the worst start to a Cup Series season in Johnson's career.
Oh, no. Kyle Busch was sideways.
You know, he cut his teammate a little bit of a break, checked up early getting into turn 1 and allow Eric Jones to the bottom. But then you saw Chase Elliott on the outside of the 18 and the 41 right there.
Trouble! One car around and one in the wall.
Hamlin's in
11 and the 10.
Hamlin, Keselowski involved, and Almirola, and Jimmie Johnson. Good grief.
That was crazy.
Now watch the 18 here.
It just looks to me like he just checks up a little bit, let the 20 down, and that gets a 9 to the outside of him. That gets him loose. Right there, he gets loose. Now they're going to take up 3 wide. Stenhouse on the outside, and the 41, 14 go by.
And here comes that accordion effect. There's Almirola.
There, now they're 3 wide. Oh, he checks up a lot. Oh, that gets 11 loose underneath the 10 and Almirola.
Oh boy, the 2 got a ton of damage. So did 48. Wow, the 48 plowed in that inside wall. There's a 6. That took out a bunch of cars. 48.
Oh, they're spinning.
Oh, Menard up and into Boyer, into the wall. Gets collected by McDowell.
No,
Keselowski crashes, and more cars are littered at the bottom of the racetrack.
Guys, I think that somebody may have gotten loose, got either into Jimmie Johnson or his car got loose and came down.
Here comes Jimmie through the middle of the melee. And
not sure Jimmie has much damage. How about the 18? 2 is
2
crashed.
certainly does. So you see the 24 starts coming up. Look, it just seems like the air changed and allowed that 48 to just get loose.
Yeah, the 48 and the 24. I think the 24 may have gotten on the brakes and that caused his car to get loose. But I don't know what happened to Johnson. That thing just turned sideways. And I've seen that time and time again up there in turn 3.
Casey Kane shoots through the black car with the yellow number on top.
Yeah, the 48 of Jimmie Johnson communicating with spotter Earl Barbin, and Earl said there was no contact. They think that just the car behind Jimmie had taken the air off of Jimmie's car, and that's what caused him to dart toward the center of the track. And you see damage on the 24 of Byron, also a little bit of damage for Jimmie Johnson, but they have looked at the car, inspected it, and they believe it's okay. No worse for the wear for the 48.
Jimmie just spins and comes down the racetrack.
Right there, it starts to get a little sideways.
Yeah, I got hit in the left rear. I don't know how I spun. What happened there?
But that's what it feels like. You've been hit, and the way that car, you would never expect the car to get sideways and lose control in the middle of the corner when it's loaded up in the banking.
I've just seen that time and time again, particularly in the 3rd and 4th turn. The cars just get a little loose. Guys been able to catch them. That time it was just a slow kind of spin.
Logano 3 wide into 3, top to bottom, and there they go.
Around, right in front of the field.
Jimmie Johnson.
Joey Logano's around.
And everybody missed Johnson.
And I don't think even the 22 got very substantial damage to his car.
I'm not sure if anybody made contact with anybody, but that was an incredible job by all those guys to miss that.
Seeming outside line. Looks like he gets turned by the 48 of Jimmie Johnson. Just a little hook there on the left rear quarter panel. Spins him down through the grass.
This race is going to continue to get more aggressive. As we wind into it, we're going to see more accidents, more pushing, more shoving. Stuff's going to get wild.
How about riding right in the middle now? Just waiting for whichever line. Huge push. And around goes a 2. Too big of a push. He caught the 41.
The big one.
Logano's caught up in it.
Oh, my goodness.
Denny Hamlin. Austin Dillon has damage. Daniel Suarez trying to avoid. Ty Dillon sliding in. A wreck 22 of Joey Logano sitting on the apron. A wreck 2.
And that was incredibly, there's just so much happening there, as you see. Running up on William Byron so fast.
Look who gets through. The 31 of Ryan Newman. The 18 of Kyle Busch. But after that, everyone fighting to find some type of a clear racetrack. The 41, Jimmie Johnson sideways, but is there contact? He was still in the gas as it came up on the high banks. Oh, into the wall again. This time Eric Almirola caught up. The 00 of Joey Gase and the 34, who had a great run tonight, gets caught up in it, Michael McDowell.
Oh, Jimmie Johnson as well.
The 48 of Jimmie Johnson just got back on the lead lap. Not a lot of damage to the 48, though.
We're on your way, fellas.
And a wheel rolling down the racetrack.
Here's another look at it. The 00 is already hooked. Turned down the corner. Joey Gase, he's just trying to gather it up. Nowhere for those guys to go.
And Jimmie Johnson's like, oh, I've seen this before.
That heavy impact with McDowell sandwiching Eric in the wall. Wow, what a hit. This shears that.
The wheel comes off, and then you see the 48 sliding down into the grass. The wheel actually comes back and hits the 10 and rolls over the top of it and then keeps going down the racetrack. Coming out of turn 4. Once they get the white flag, the next flag will call it the 14 around. Boyer into the wall. The caution comes out just before they get to the start-finish line.
Some big impacts.
Bain caught up, as is Bubba Wallace. Brendan Gaughan also in this. The 48 of Jimmie Johnson, Trevor Bain. A lot of damage to Jimmie Johnson's car.
You get misaligned just a touch, boom, that's what happens. It just yanks it to the right. Trevor Bain with a big hit too.
Yeah, remember these cars going over 180 miles an hour. And hard impact into the wall.
Yeah, guys, you mentioned this is how it starts. The 14 gets turned, big impact. But look at Jimmie Johnson come in. He's at the top of the screen. He hits the wall. Then he's into Clint Boyer, and he starts to turn left. He's going to basically come right at me. We talked about the pit box being in the center of the action. Well, this is another shot for the 48. And at this point, he's just along for the ride. But you see why NASCAR doesn't use these last 3 pit stalls anymore. This is basically pit stall 2. I'm 1 pit stall to his left on the NBC pit box. So you see, you see how close it is. You see now how NASCAR makes the decision what pit stalls are no longer used for pit crews.
At the halfway point of the season, Johnson improved to 12th in points, and his best finish was a 3rd place at Bristol. In no previous season had Johnson made it this far into a season without winning a race.
Kelly.
Well, the frustrating night for Jimmie Johnson and this 48 team continues. You see the work going on the 48 right now back in the garage. Jimmie lost oil pressure, and it sounds like the car had cut out at one point. They brought him down pit road, and they were able to diagnose whatever it was that caused the issue with the oil pressure. We're still not sure what that is, but they told him to bring it back to the garage where they obviously think they can repair it. Jimmie's still sitting inside the cockpit there. You see the window net up, so this crew now hard at work trying to just salvage what they can. Remember, they're in a sticky point situation, trying to maintain their bubble over the playoff cutoff line. So this crew is going to try to get the 48 back out on track.
Well, so she mentions the point situation. I mean, no one feels great. I mean, you currently have Jimmie Johnson in 15th, Alex Bowman in 16th. I think the big concern for the 48 is you don't want to be 16th, right? You don't want to be the last guy. A surprise winner would bump the 16th place guy out. I guess that's why the 48's probably trying to repair it, to salvage whatever day they can to make sure they stay in front of their teammate, Alex Bowman.
It's just surprising to me that the 48 just can't jump out of this doldrums that they're in. Really, they just can't find a way, even on a night where they seem to have some speed. Loose wheel, commitment line problem, mechanical issue, just even when they on a night where they did have speed, nothing going right.
Despite the trials and tribulations Johnson faced throughout the season, Johnson was able to qualify for the playoffs, as he has done every year since they were introduced in 2004. He was tied for the 15th seed. Perhaps Johnson could have a repeat of what Tony Stewart did in 2011. That year, Stewart went winless into the playoffs before winning 5 of the 10 races in it on his way to winning the championship.
Almirola caught those two guys side by side. Unfortunately for him, an aggressive move. Is this going to work?
Final lap. The 10 making contact with Suarez. The 8 almost goes around, able to save it.
That pass for Bowman over Elliott puts him in.
And Almirola passing Suarez will eliminate the 42, I believe, as we have a race for the lead on the right side of the screen.
42 drops below the cutoff line. Now the race for the win on the right side.
I think Jimmie Johnson, big wreck. Almirola made it through. I think Jimmie Johnson has enough points. He can push the issue right here. We had a lot of people have problems.
The fight for the win, the fight for the playoff transfer.
He's going to have to come out of this chicane, turn 12. He's going to have to come out of there on the back bumper of that 78 to make a move in the braking zone of 16 and 17.
Yeah, so 48's only 7 points to the good, so he may not afford it, but
look, he's there. What a great corner.
Here they come through the final banked curve at Charlotte Roval. Now he goes to the inside. Here comes Jimmie Johnson. Locks the brakes up.
He's
and he's going to slide. He slides through the middle. Truex gets tagged. Now it'll be a fight for the finish line. Ryan Blaney in the 12 will win. Jimmie Johnson this year will not have a shot to make it 8 championships, Dave.
So we're just bringing that news to Jimmie now. With that finish, Jimmie, you are officially out. You will not move on to the next round. Describe for us coming to 15, knowing that there was one shot for the win.
Yeah, I was more worried about the win than anything else, and I hate that I started wheel hopping and took Martin and I out. That's the last thing that I wanted to do, and I put pressure on him into turn 3. He washed up, and I thought that I was going to be in the prime braking zone going into that final turn and have a shot at it. And when I went to the brakes, it started locking the rears and wheel hopping, and I didn't think I hit him at first. I knew I was spinning, obviously, but I guess I collected him in my spin, and certainly regret doing that. And then ultimately, we were in a transfer position and didn't get it. So just going for the win. These wins are so important, and the veteran could have taken the safe route and didn't, and unfortunately, took us out of the playoffs and took out the 78.
He quickly processed what he had to do. Unfortunately, could not get across the line, Rick, quick enough to save his playoff hopes this year.
The crash at Charlotte cost Johnson dearly as he was unable to advance further into the playoffs. However, there were still 7 races for Johnson to snap his winless streak.
While you were talking to Eric Almirola, big news for Jimmie Johnson. The 11-time Dover winner comes down pit road with an issue with the right front. The tire I thought was loose. You're going to see how much the wheel moves around, but under closer inspection, it's not just the wheel. It's the center hub, the studs, and everything. So definitely some sort of major suspension failure on the 48 under pace laps. This baffles me. A 7-time champion, an 11-time winner, and the 48, Jimmie Johnson, will not even take the green here at the Monster Mile.
Yeah, this really is incredible news. And Jimmie Johnson right now on a 52-race winless streak. And that's a career long for him. He's talked about how this was a race that he could rebound after a great performance a week ago. You look at 16 consecutive seasons with a win, and potentially one of his best tracks now might be off the table as far as a possibility of a win. Look at the names that he joins as far as consecutive seasons with wins. 11 wins here. That's why this racetrack's so important for him to get potentially that one win this year. But you see the crew running back into the garage. Obviously, a huge mistake here getting the car set up for this race, Steve.
And it has to be a mistake. Jeff and I were just discussing that up here. I can't fathom. I can't understand. Think of how many times the cars go on the racetrack. It didn't run more than 45 miles an hour for it to fall apart. It had to be either some sort of crazy parts failure or some sort of just mechanical mistake. But either way, the field's bunching up. We're going to see the green flag without Jimmie Johnson. See Jimmie Johnson rejoining the race right here. He'll be 10 laps down, I believe. He missed the first 10 laps of the race. So, man, talk about a bad year. Winless. Winless has never happened in his career, and currently winless. I really looked at this as a race that I thought he could do it, right? I just thought after last week and that big move to try to win, so much talk about that, Jeff, I thought this was going to be the way race he was going to bounce back.
Now we saw Stewart Haas Racing. They're not leading this race anymore. The 21.
Oh, look out! We got a spin.
And 48. Jimmie Johnson goes around, coming through the tri-oval, and it looks as though he's not going to catch anyone else.
Oh, is he going to hit that? Oh.
He does hit the inside wall. So a lot of damage, I'm sure, to the left front of the 48.
He did a great job keeping the car from going back up the racetrack into the traffic. But
hit the left front real hard.
The price he paid for that was hitting that inside wall.
We'll get a look at it.
That was Chad Knaus saying we're going to get a look at it. Jimmie Johnson, Chad Knaus. It was mentioned this week. It was announced that the two, after 17 years together, 7 championships together, would be splitting as driver crew chief. That pairing now split up. This is definitely not what Jimmie Johnson was looking for. They have won a race every year. They have been in the Cup Series.
Here's the replay. Is it what you were talking about, Jeff? In this tri-oval? Oh, he gets loose and has to correct. And when he corrects, that really brings the back around.
You mentioned what an amazing job of staying out of getting back on the racing line.
You see his car start to go up the racetrack. He just couldn't turn it because he was too loose and had to turn it to stay off the 10 of Eric Almirola and just spun out. Something we have seen with this 48 team before, where the car gets so loose and just can't hang on to it.
So why is that tri-oval so tricky? That bottom lane is flatter than the rest of the tri-oval. When they repaved this racetrack, they made progressive banking just in that bottom groove, and it really makes it tough to get through there. If you drive through there and that right rear tire gets up on that next increased banking, you will get loose.
Caution just coming out, and it's for 7-time champion Jimmie Johnson, a 9-time winner at this racetrack. And here's what happens when you're fighting for position.
Is in beside the 20 of Eric Jones and just started wheel hopping. The car got away from him.
Yeah, you can see that right rear tire bouncing real bad, getting down in the corner, and get those front brakes hot, and those rears are cooling well and doing well. You can see that left rear bounce pretty bad right there.
We see that a lot at this racetrack. Just underneath Eric Jones, wheel hopping. Now he's up the racetrack and kind of along for the ride. Luckily, Eric Jones didn't get damaged. No one else behind him got damaged.
I'm impressed by Eric Jones, either hearing from his spotter or just telling the 48 was in trouble. He kind of chased up the racetrack, gave the 48 room.
And the caution has come out.
The
24.
Come in. That's the last one. Come on.
A couple cars around
Jimmie
down there.
finally got into him a little bit here. I can't see the right.
William Byron see a little bit of damage on the left front. And William Byron, we had mentioned earlier about the separation of Jimmie Johnson and Chad Knaus. Well, the crew chief for William Byron in 2019 will be Chad Knaus. And it was the 48s that was involved.
At the end of the season, Johnson finished 14th in points. This was his worst ranking in a full-time Cup Series season. During the year, Johnson got a best finish of 3rd at Bristol and only led 40 laps during the entire season.